Another awesome capability with SharePoint 2013, really it's not new in 2013, but it's a deep integration with Microsoft Office and Windows tools. I mean, we have to admit, right, everybody in the organization, or at least in corporate world, uses Windows, Office, and whatnot. And I'm not saying that we should stop using it. In fact, we can use it much better coupled with SharePoint or SharePoint 2013. So I'm going to show you a couple examples, okay? And this is a very common scenario when we work on when we're working in a project environment. So let me go back to this project site, and let's say I want to start working on my project documents here. So let me go to my document library. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this file called change control. So as you can see, when I clicked on it, it opened up on the browser. And for those not familiar, this is known as Office Web Apps, where not only can you open the document directly in the browser, you can edit it too. So the benefit of this is, even if you don't have Microsoft Office, and especially if you're using an iPad or Kindle, you can still do edits directly to the document from the browser. Now, it's not the fully featured Microsoft Word, but it can get the job done. And if you're thinking, well, I need to do a whole lot more, I don't want to edit in the browser, I can open it in Word as well. So when I click Open in Word, it's going to fire up Microsoft Word, my local copy. And by the way, friends, this also works on a Mac. So if you have Mac for Office 2011, it's still going to open. So now I have all my project files centralized on my SharePoint-based project site. I can work on a document and edit it. So let's say this is for the executive presentation project, change control form. Okay? And let's say, this is all right, but I'm thinking, you know what? This doesn't look good at all. I need help. I need somebody to jazz this up a bit. So one of the nice things with SharePoint-based technologies and Microsoft-based technologies is the deep integration with existing or other tools that you use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up on my link here. I'm going to look for my colleague. Hey, Alex, you there? And I'm going to ask Alex to help me. Can you help me pretty up the change control document for the executive change control document in the executive project site? Okay, so yeah, Alex is there. So notice I'm using Lync, and okay, so there you go. So Alex is going to help me, and notice what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to leave the document. You see, starting in SharePoint 2010, there's this new capability called document co-authoring, where it allows multiple people to jump in that same document and work on it at the same time. I mean, that's a big pain point in a typical project environment, right? Used to be we would email one file to 4 people, hey, update section 1, section 2, section 3, and then we have to wait, and then like 10 emails come back, and it's just a pain. That's one problem. Number 2, in the previous version of SharePoint, SharePoint 2007, we relied on check-out, check-in. And the problem with that is, again, it's very serial. We wait for people, and if they don't check it back in, it doesn't get the job done. But with document co-authoring, you can have multiple people work on the same document, regardless if they're in, see this? Alex is editing this document. How cool is that, right? And I can even talk to Alex directly while he's working on it. Make it pretty now. So, and it even tells me what section Alex is working on. So if you see this highlighted like that, that means somebody's working on it, right? And this is so powerful. You talk about making the most out of your time. Document co-authoring is it. And not only can you do this with Word, you could do this with PowerPoint as well. again, how many of us would collaborate with other people in PowerPoint? I can work on slide 1, you can work on slide 2. And this also works in the Office web apps environment. So you don't have to have the local version of Office to do document co-author. Very cool. I wonder if Alex is done. So again, you can utilize existing tools such as Word and still be more efficient than just relying on emailing stuff back and forth. Okay, so once Alex is done, he'll ping me, he'll say he's done, and we will see in Microsoft Word, it'll tell us if there's new changes or new updates and if we want to review it. Looks like Alex is spending a lot of time on this, but we'll let him. Oh, Alex is no longer editing this document. All right, so let me hit refresh here. There you go. Wonder what he did. So let me look at. Oh, trying again. Okay. All right. No worries. I'll leave Alex alone. So that's one of the cool things. Now, even better. So while Alex is working on that, right? So that's, you know, among other things we could do with existing Office-based tools. Now, what I want to show you next, is he done? Okay, all done. All right. Let me double check. Oh, it says updates available. All right, so let me refresh that. What? Alex has a good sense of humor. SharePoint doesn't suck. He sucks. Okay, good. So that's cool, right? Now, even better, what if I want to figure out what happened in this document? So I can easily go to review and say compare this current version with a specific version. So looks like there's let's see, last version. I'll do that. Still thinking. And what I wanted to show you quickly there is, other than being able to work together, the ability to go back in time and see what happened to a specific document is available. You know, I don't have to worry about the ability to do that. Now, right now, it's not turned on. So what I could do is I can go to my document library and say library settings and say versioning, right? I'm going to turn on what's called create major versions, and as soon as I do that, from this point onwards, any changes that's done within my document library, so let me update this document as well. So let's say I don't care for what Alex did. I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to change this to red color, all that. And let me go ahead and save. So I'm going to overwrite what Alex did. So as soon as I do that, let's say I need to review 2 weeks later what happened to this document. So I can hit compare to specific version, and I guess there's really no new version here, but any changes through time, I can see the version, and I can compare each in Microsoft Word. A dialog box is open. Oh, that's what it is. All right. So I can keep track of all the versions and changes. Now, another scenario I want to show you, and this is quite realistic because I've seen this a lot in a lot of different organizations. So what I'm going to do is I will go to this project site and kind of talk to you about this situation. So a couple of years ago, I was working with a customer, and we helped them take advantage of SharePoint to manage their projects. And a couple of things I found out. So prior to SharePoint, using SharePoint for project management, they used email and Excel and network shares, and I'm sure that's true in a lot of your organizations as well. So we help them, we provide training, we shape the solution in a way that for every project now, they'll have this project site, and it's a one-stop shop. Everything about the project is there, which is great. Now, we found out at any point in time they have 100 projects that they're working on. Now, the challenge with that is at the end of the month, every project manager would have to send expense information to let's call her Miss Betty in accounting. And just imagine Miss Betty in accounting would have to dig through her email, grab the project expense, which is in Excel, put it together for a monthly expense report. And so I talked to her. I said, Miss Betty, how much time do you spend doing this? She goes, oh, you know, I spend about 6 hours every month in the last 8 years to compile project, like a project expense summary kind of thing. So I said, would you be interested to cut that in half? Instead of spending 6 hours, maybe spend 4 hours or something. She go, yeah, absolutely, but only if I can do it in Excel. I don't want to learn anything new because I'm retiring in 2 years. Does that sound familiar? I said, no problem, Miss Betty. I know you don't care for other tools. All you want is Excel, so I'm going to show you a feature in Excel. So what I proposed is this. I said, okay, so here's what we're going to do, Miss Betty. Instead of having project managers email you their expenses in an Excel file, we're going to tell project managers to put in their expenses directly on their project site. Because everything else is already there, might as well put their project expenses as well. As soon as the expense information is entered in their project site, it will automatically show up in your Excel spreadsheet on your desktop. Would you like that? She goes, yeah, of course. And you don't have to deal with email anymore. Okay. All right, so here's how you're going to do it. So I showed her a quick example. So let's say, so Miss Betty, so let's say we bought some projectors for this project, and $500. Say we bought a computer for $300. Okay, all right. And then I'm going to highlight this column just to make it relevant here. Okay, currency. Okay, all right. And now I'm going to convert this information to what's called an Excel table. And by the way, friends, everything I'm showing you here is out of the box. Everything I'm showing you here is out of the box. Now, at this point in time, let me hit undo here real quick. You know, the idea is I'm going to take this information and publish it and make it available on that SharePoint project site. In order to do that, I would need to install an add-in. I'm going to show you in a second how that's done. But what I want to say, though, is this feature I'm about to show you is not even new. It's been there since Excel 2003 and SharePoint 2003, and it's all out of the box. And this feature is called the Excel SharePoint List Synchronization. You can download that synchronization tool from Microsoft. It's a free download. We'll provide you with the information. But once you download it, you can add it to your copy of Excel. It came out of the box in Excel 2003, but I don't know why they made it optional starting Excel 07. So I'm going to go to my Excel add-in and browse, and I believe I put in Drive C. Here you go. So notice as soon as I put that add-in, notice this thing popped up, Publish and Allow Sync. Okay? So when I do that, all I have to do is put in the project site name. So in this case, it's the Executive Presentation Project. And I'm going to go ahead and just make sure I have the right project site address here. And we're going to call this the Exec Presentation. I'll just call it the, Exec Presentation Expenses, whatever. You can call it whatever. Oops. And then when you do that, what happens? Excel will take this information, log into that project site or SharePoint site just to make sure you're allowed to do what you're doing, create a custom list, and make this information available on that site. And when that's done, friends, let's check this out. So when we look at it, here's what we end up with. Notice that in the project site, I have a list called Executive Presentation Expenses. I have all this expense information. So now, what's going to happen is the new way of doing it, as soon as somebody enters in information in the project site, so we bought a car for the project, it was $50,000. right? So as soon as that information is entered, and let's say we enabled alerting, so let's say Miss Betty in accounting gets alerted every time a new information is entered. She'll get the alert on her email saying, hey, the expense has been updated. She can open up this Excel file on her desktop, or it doesn't matter where it is, and say synchronize. And as soon as she synchronizes it, voila, that same set of information that's on the project site is now available on her copy of Excel. That's what I call project management on your terms. With Miss Betty, she doesn't care for a full-blown SharePoint site. She just needs to get her piece of the work done, which is getting all this expense data. So now not only can she get and see the information, she can take the information and, she's reviewing the receipts. You guys didn't buy a car, you bought carpet, and even update it accordingly, and then even synchronize it back to that SharePoint site. And so as soon as she does that, let's refresh here, friends. We can clearly see the update she just made from card to carpet is now visible. There you go. Carpet, $500. How's that? And this is one of those things that's been there forever. Whenever I show this to people, there's a handful of people that never knew this feature was there, but it's been there since Excel 03 and SharePoint 2003. So what I'm pointing out here, friends, is you can use the tools that you use and love, but you can use it much better. And this is the other point I want to raise is, today SharePoint in companies, SharePoint today is just used as a file share. There's really not a compelling need for users to really take advantage of SharePoint. What I'd like for people to do is really look at SharePoint as a business essential tool. I mean, just like how you look at email and Excel, you can't live without email. You can't live without Excel, right? So what if people in your organization do things like this, where now Miss Betty doesn't have to deal with checking her email, grabbing all those Excel sheets, and when I talked to her after a couple of months, she said, yeah, thank you for teaching me that. I created 99 other sheets and connected it to the 99 other project sites, and then I have a summary sheet that pulls all the data and provides all the reporter around project expenses, a little pivot table and pivot chart. And by doing this stuff, I literally saved 2 hours. And boy, I can't thank you enough. That's so valuable to me. So as long as you demonstrate the value to the user, and I think that's the important piece. The problem in a lot of cases is we go around and tell people, use SharePoint, but without telling them the value and the context. And Miss Betty even told me, last month I didn't have to do overtime just to get all these reports done, right? And how much does that cost? I mean, think about the benefits not only it brings to Miss Betty, she saved 2 hours, but the benefits it brought to the company because she didn't have to work overtime to get her project expense report finished. That's quite powerful, right? So you can utilize existing tools that people already love. And it's a low barrier to entry as well, meaning if you approach it from Office, people tend to be more open to it because, one of the biggest complaints I heard is, Doc, how can you drive better adoption? People in my company just don't use SharePoint. Start with Office. Show them how much powerful Office tools can be coupled with SharePoint.